It's 2 p.m. right now. We're recording. How many steps do you have today?
Let's check it out. I have 4,722 steps.
That's not bad.
It's all right for
I'm
3 p.m.
I'm under 3,000 because I was at my computer all day. Disappointing.
Gotta step it up, girl. All right. Today we are talking about, are fitness trackers worth it? Let's talk about it.
Welcome to Net with Lizzy and Lissa, where we analyze hidden costs and empower you to make your own damn decisions in life. Each episode covers a different facet of life, and at the end of each episode, we each give our take on whether we think something is net positive or net negative.
I'm Lizzy, a strategist and consultant with almost 20 years of experience in finance and investing.
And I'm Lissa, a personal finance expert and an accredited financial counselor. We're best friends who talk about money
and everything else.
In today's episode, we are discussing fitness trackers. However, this episode is informational and educational and entertaining in nature and should not be misconstrued as medical or health advice. So, are fitness trackers worth it?
First up, running the numbers on fitness trackers. According to Statista, user penetration for fitness trackers will be 9.61% in 2024 and is expected to hit 13.41% by 2029.
Statista also projects that revenue in the fitness tracker market is going to be $41 billion in 2024, with the most revenue coming from the United States. And they define the fitness tracker market in three parts: smartwatches, smart bands, and smart scales.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yep.
There's actually a lot more to the fitness tracker market depending on how you define it. So according to Precedence Research, the market projections for 2024 are closer to $66 billion. They include products that focus on glucose monitoring, heart rate monitoring, sleep rate, calorie count, and others. So a little bit broader of a category.
I mean, it's not just a couple devices like smartwatches.
For sure.
There's so many ways to track fitness. So the 10,000 step goal that a lot of people know about is known to be an arbitrary number from this Japanese marketing campaign back in the 1960s. But there have been studies done to show that more steps can decrease your mortality rate. So you can live longer if you have more steps.
Logical.
It's just that 10K is not like this magic number.
Made up out of thin air. Yeah.
So for example, a 2019 study from JAMA Network showed progressively decreasing risk of mortality for people under 60 when they logged anywhere between 8,000 to 10,000 steps a day.
But we all know there's more to life than numbers, so let's talk about it. Are fitness trackers worth it? Well, first, let's talk about the financial costs of fitness trackers.
Yeah.
Right? Fairly affordable.
For devices.
Mm-hmm. Right? So I was looking this up the other day. On the lower end, there's maybe $50, $80 for the more simple functionality, all the way up to some of the more sophisticated Garmin watches are $500 plus, depending on the technology behind them.
Yeah, I saw one over $1,000.
Okay, right.
I was like, wow, what is it? What does this? Can this Garmin do that my Oura Ring or Fitbit can't?
Right.
I was wondering that.
Right. So, but let's say a one-time purchase, theoretically it lasts a while, which we will talk more about, of a few $100s on average. Plus some have an app component, like a premium. I pay for the Fitbit Premium, which is $15 a month or something like that.
I pay it yearly, and I just checked before recording this episode, and it was $79.99.
Okay.
A year.
Yeah. Okay. And I would imagine other Oura Ring I also pay for.
It's like $6 a month or something, right?
I think I paid that one yearly and I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, so maybe some kind of ongoing subscription component if you want. Some of them it's for the enhanced functionality versus, just kind of the baseline.
Another thing I Googled right before we did this episode, I was like, wait, what am I getting with Fitbit Premium that if I didn't have premium, would I not be able to see my steps or my sleep?
Yeah.
And it turns out like they have a bunch of workouts and meditations and things in the app, and I never use them because I have like Headspace, which,
Yeah.
you know, I have these other apps we could talk about in another episode, but like I have all these other apps that do the same function. I have
sure.
the Peloton app that has workouts, but the Fitbit app also has workouts. But to me at this point, it's like duplicative. It's like I don't
For
need
sure.
it.
Yeah. I don't ever use those. That's not why I got the premium. I want to say, because I don't remember off the top of my head, there's like additional features and additional tracking.
I think sleep tracking.
The sleep tracking
it
is
goes
more
a bit
detailed.
more detailed.
That's why I got it. But speaking of being duplicative, man, y'all bamboozled me. My 3 closest friends in the world all wore one of these fucking things, the Oura Ring, and are like, oh my God, girl, you need one, you need one, you need one. And I dove right in. Unlike me, I didn't research the hell out of it. I got one maybe like 5 or 6 months ago now. It's like the same damn thing as this Fitbit. Now, I absolutely check both of them.
Yeah.
And I compare. There are some features I prefer. And I have heard that eventually with like that much data, like some of the predictive stuff gets better. But for the cost of it, which was $500, I think, for the one that I got.
Was it? I got it as a gift.
Oh, yeah, girl, that thing is not cheap.
Oh.
I was like, why did I buy this?
Thanks, Alan.
What was I thinking?
Yeah, so I really wanted it, but I couldn't get myself to pull the trigger on buying it because I had the Fitbit.
Yeah.
But I kept talking about it. So my birthday a year or 2 ago, Alan, my fiance, got it for me.
Okay.
Yeah, so I didn't actually pay for it.
The other thing I will say, just to clarify, is for you and for another one of my friends, a big feature and component of it was like the fertility tracking and the cycle tracking and stuff, which was a big feature for me that I was interested in, but it doesn't work because I have birth control. And so that was interesting. So there's pros and cons to it. But sitting over here looking at both my trackers, like which one has my sleep more accurate? They're actually pretty close.
Yeah. Okay, so financially, we're talking about for fitness trackers that have devices, there's a cost, supposedly one-time cost for the device. And then for certain ones that have apps, there is a monthly recurring cost.
For sure.
Yeah.
But the financial cost isn't the only cost.
Nope.
So what has your experience been with fitness trackers? Both like kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Okay, I don't know if this is good, bad, or the ugly, but literally like 2 nights ago, I had 7,200 steps and it was 10 p.m. And I was like, man, there's no way I'm going to hit my 10K tonight. And then I was like, or is there? So I was studying. I was like on my iPad trying to read all of these things. I'm studying for my CFP exam right now. So I just started doing like little quizzes on my iPad while walking around the house. I got dizzy because I can't, it's hard to do that, like study and walk at the same time and not safe. But I did it in like 20, 25 minutes. I got the steps and I hit my 10,000. So I don't know. I think
that's a good thing.
I think it's a good thing that I got the steps, but I don't think it's a great thing that I obsess over the 10K because if it's a day that I don't get 10K, I actually feel guilty or I feel bad.
I think that's the line. I have let go of that in the past. I've been wearing a fitness tracker since like 2013, I think. So over 10 years, really long time, to the point where it's like instrumental to my life. I check it every day, or I actually was just being made fun of the other day for wearing a computer to bed. But I have kind of gotten to the point where like, I glance at it. It's not a hard and fast, I'm a failure if I don't, hit my targets kind of thing. Overall, though, I think the main benefit is it makes you more mindful, right? I think like that's part of it. It gives you awareness.
I'm saying I'm overly mindful.
Yeah.
So like, there's a common thing, and I know this is true of you, like if you go to the gym and you forget your headphones, it's almost like you can't work out, right? Yeah. I feel that way with like fitness trackers. It's like if I don't have my Fitbit on when I go take a 30-minute walk, I feel like, dang, those steps didn't count.
They don't count. They don't count, bro. They don't count.
They don't count. I didn't burn the calories. It didn't actually happen.
Tell me why. So we play in a basketball league where you can't wear jewelry. So I tie mine to my shorts or put it in my shoe.
I used to do that, but guess what I've done the last 3 weekends of basketball games? I wear a wristband over my Fitbit on my arm.
Right. Because otherwise, these are good calories, girl. This is a good workout, and it doesn't count.
Because, like, some days when I don't get a full-on workout in, it's kind of hard to get. So one of my fitness goals on my Fitbit is to get 30 minutes of active minutes, which is when your heart rate has to go up to get these active minutes. So some days when I'm taking a rest day, it's hard to get that. So like yesterday, I had a basketball game, played the whole game. It was an hour. And I think I got 200 active minutes because it counts like double minutes when you
are in a certain heart rate zone.
Yeah, certain heart rate zone. Yeah. Anyway, so going back to the original question, it's like, I think it's great that I'm mindful about my fitness, but I think I'm I'm a lot obsessive, like too obsessive. Yeah. I'm trying to work out of this because I don't like being this obsessive.
So I relate. I've been there. I'm not as bad as I was, but it definitely doesn't count if I'm not wearing it.
Like my sleep, I didn't sleep last night if it didn't track how long I slept.
I won't charge mine at night because then it's like my sleep didn't count. I charged dead ass last night. I was so tired. And I laid it and I was like, oh, my watch is going to be dead tomorrow. So I plugged it in and then I laid there for like 15 minutes and then I put it back on.
Just enough charge to get you through the night.
Just enough to get me through the night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's interesting too, because I actually do think that this is a great quality of fitness trackers, at least for me, more so than the tracking my activity and my steps, the sleep tracking, because I must have not gotten a lot of sleep in my 20s when I used to drink a lot more and like stay out late. Yeah. Now that I track it and I see like, oh, wow, the days that I don't feel great and I feel tired and no energy, and I look at my sleep stats, it's directly tied to how late I went to bed or how many times I got up in the middle of the night or how little REM or deep sleep I got.
Absolutely.
Directly tied. So now in the past year or two especially of having the Oura Ring, I pass on drinking a lot of nights because if I drink, I 100% have worse sleep.
Yep.
Every time.
Without a doubt.
So it's made me more conscious about it to where I'm living, I guess, a healthier lifestyle by drinking less. But again, to this like obsessive point where it's like, now I'm always just like, not a fun person.
I completely relate to that. The sleep is the number one thing I look at. It used to be calories burned. That's still, I think, my number one like metric. Because I use the app most of the time. I would say 50 to 70% of the time to track my food. And so I'm like mindful of my calories and stuff. But the sleep, I check every day. That's my favorite thing about having both of them because they track it a little differently. And I agree. The good thing about the Oura Ring, not to make this an ad for them, is that you can add tags. So I tag every time I drink alcohol so I can see the trends. And if you are a data nerd like me, that is so definitive of like, why am I doing this? Spoiler alert, peep our episode on Is Alcohol Worth It?
Yeah.
But that's been really valuable for me also in changing my habits and recognizing it used to be like basic math, like, okay, I went to bed at 11 and my alarm's set for 7, so I'm going to get 8 hours.
Yeah.
Nah, bruh.
No, that's not 8 hours.
Because you actually took like 25 minutes to fall asleep. You woke up a few times. You had to pee, or whatever. And then the quality of those 6.5 hours is very different.
Yeah. So I do appreciate the alerts I get on my app that I have a daily routine where around like 10 o'clock it says, all right, start winding down for bed. So then as best as I can, I try to avoid screens and blue light.
Yeah.
So I do what it tells me to some degree.
I wish I could do that.
And it helps me out. But then sometimes it can just get annoying because then it's like,
I just don't listen.
You don't
That's
listen to
my
it?
ADHD. That's like, I look at it and I'm like, fuck off.
You use it to give yourself information, but you don't use it as a tool to proactively.
I ignore them. I have that thing in me that I don't listen to other things. My brain don't even listen to me, let alone other things. So I'll see that, like, you need to take more steps or it's time for bed. And I'm just, part of my brain is like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be really helpful, though, if that worked for me.
So the stat said that it's somewhere teetering around 10%, and I think this is globally, of people use some kind of fitness or health tracking.
I think at like face value, you're like, oh, 10%. But when you think about how many people that is in, let's say, a decade or so, like that's actually really incredible market penetration across all age groups and everything. So I think there's been a cultural shift too. We are in a little bit of a bubble with that, living in LA, where there's so much meaning and value placed on health and fitness. But I think just, you know, across the US and certainly globally, the awareness and the use of technology to be more aware, to track things using data. Like, I'm such a nerd about that. I want all the data I can get about myself. But that brings up another cost.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Do you get concerned about all your health data?
No, I don't think I get concerned about my health data. I think when people, at least like, you know, friends and family, older family members, when they get concerned about data and privacy, I think what they think is happening is that like someone in another country is looking at their individual health data. And I'm not concerned about that definition at all.
Yeah.
In terms of, you know, companies having our data, large data sets of our health in aggregate, so that they may create new products, whether they're good or bad, or sell us on the things that they know we are lacking or in need of. It's part smart and capitalistic, but it's also part predatory, where it's like, at what point are you actually trying to help us in our health, or are you trying to get your bag by selling these products and apps?
And I think both can be true at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a person that's going to trip out about that kind of stuff. I'm just not really wired that way. So
life's too short to worry about.
Well, it's more, I'm just like, you can have it, whatever.
Yeah, what are you
really going to do with my data that's so meaningful, right? Like, I'm more concerned with like, when it comes to that stuff, like photos and art and stuff that's used, like your likeness being used.
True.
But then like, you want to know how many hours I slept last night or my weight? What the fuck ever, I'll just tell you, you know?
Yeah, maybe you guys will make better pillows.
Right, yeah. So that part doesn't bother me personally, although I think I understand why it freaks people out, and that's valid. And I think to the extent that that could be used in a nefarious way, not so much like the product development or it's hard for me to think of data, that the type of data this tracks, that could be used in a negative way. But I think in general, health data being used to like, I don't know, target someone with something negative, like, you know, that I'm like, oh, okay, that's a little sketchy. But
yeah, but it's interesting though, because of the companies that do hold a lot of this data, right? Like Apple Watch is what a lot of people use.
Yeah.
And then Fitbit is now owned by Google. Or Alphabet.
Right.
Yeah.
That is where it gets really interesting. I saw something the other day that gave me pause. I can't think of what it was, but yeah, basically, so you know now all of my preferences about this, or you know that I am navigating this thing. So what ads are you going to serve me? And that is where it gets a little weird. And it's a line, right? Because when they're serving you an ad, hypothetically, for something you actually want, you like it. You're like, oh, they know me so well. My algorithm is dialed in. And then when it's not, it's such a turnoff and it feels really invasive. Mm-hmm. What's your take?
I mean, I feel like I think what most people do is that even though ads get served to me that are like, oh, I actually thought of that, or I wanted that, or I just texted someone about that, it's still creepy. It's creepy. It still feels invasive, but then I'll still click it if I really want to check out the thing.
Yeah. And I think some of that is, it's not that there's not transparency, because on all of these things, we all agree to the terms and conditions that we don't read. Yeah. Right? Or the privacy. Every single website, you know, they have to legally have these policies, but we're just kind of conditioned to accept it, or, you know, unconsciously make the choice that is worth the benefits we get from it. Yeah. And so it feels sketchy and feels creepy, even though we've technically opted into it most of the time.
Yeah. Something interesting, because I know we've been talking about Fitbit, Oura Ring, Apple Watch for fitness, like fitness tracking for fitness enthusiasts or for people who want to improve their habits. But one of the statistics that I had looked at when I was researching the show, like it was so much broader, and it included things like glucose monitoring and things like that, where these are
Life-changing devices.
Yeah, life-changing devices that historically have been, you can only get this at your doctor's office or some kind of facility, but now they are making home versions or things that you can monitor. Like one of my friends has to monitor her heart rate, so they sent, I think her doctor's office sent her these patches to to track it. When I think of it in that way, I feel like, yeah, this is all good. How could this possibly be bad?
I think so. I mean, I think there's examples where it's a lot more cut and dried, right? Like glucose monitoring, it's just an ease and a convenience thing. And that seems pretty straightforward to me. I'm sure there's still people who find it invasive or, who can nitpick it. But fortunately, it's like an opt-in, type of scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah. Personally, I think there's a lot of benefit. But more of the costs are that like mental and emotional. Do we need to have the awareness of this stuff all the time? Is it one more thing layering into our day, or is it actually a positive? Like what are the emotions? Just yesterday, I was talking to my mom, and she has an Apple Watch, and I was saying something about, we went to Comic-Con on Saturday, and I got like 18,000 steps or something, a lot. I was like, oh, my legs are tired. And she was like, oh, I didn't get that many. And we're like pretty much the same height. We were together all day long. And I was like, well, Apple Watches track things differently than Fitbits. And she's like, oh, that must be why we were in Paris and you got so many more steps than me. But like, she's competitive and like, damn, I'm like, you walked the same amount that I did, no matter what the number tells you.
Yeah.
But that's the mind fuck it plays, right?
No, for real. And it's interesting too, because I am competitive too.
Yeah.
And I enjoy statistics, but like I never went to the lengths of adding friends on Fitbit. I think I have a couple, but like they send you on a weekly basis how many steps you got and all of your statistics. But then it also has a leaderboard of like between you and all your friends who was first, second, third, or if maybe you didn't make the top 3 in terms of steps.
Yeah.
Then it's just like, dang, I couldn't keep up with your steps. But like, I've had surgeries in the past. I've had weeks and months where I couldn't actually work out.
Or just lifestyle differences.
Yeah.
I remember you and Kels, the homie Kels, were on a kick for a minute, getting like 20,000 steps a day.
I think we did 15,000 a day.
Y'all were going after it for a minute. And in my head, I was like, that is never going to happen for me. Like, it would just be such a time commitment because I'm sitting at a desk so much of the day. That would be like several hours. Like, this is my free time.
Yeah. I've kind of calculated it that it's about 100 steps per minute.
Okay.
So if you walk for 10 minutes, you can kind of pretty much just, at least for me, I could get about 1,000 steps. Yeah. So if I walk for an hour and a half a day, spread out through the day, then I can hit my 10,000.
Okay.
So it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Especially if you're like, all right, get up every hour and go take a 10, 15 minute walk.
It's manageable. Yeah.
It's manageable except for like, so Los Angeles is not like a walking city.
Right.
So much as like New York or London. And so it's funny because when I travel to places like that, I don't even have to think about getting the steps.
Yep.
I've got them.
Yep.
But like here in LA, especially if you work from home, you're not walking around a lot. It's a struggle. That's why
it is. Yeah.
By the end of the night, I'm like, man, I don't know if I can hit my
And that's
goal.
a good thing, right? Like to me, that part of it is a good thing for that awareness of like, I might feel exhausted at the end of the day and I actually barely moved because I was sitting there working, right? And like to have that awareness like, oh, this isn't healthy for me. I without a tracker, I wouldn't be reminded of that. And like, I need to make an effort and be proactive about moving my body throughout the day.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it might not happen, or it might not happen enough. Like even earlier this year, I was recovering from an injury and I'm like trying to get back in the gym and stuff like that. And I was recognizing how few steps I was taking because I couldn't walk for several months. I broke my ankle. But then just by being more mindful and upping my steps throughout the day, how much easier it was to increase my calorie burn just by doing my normal stuff.
Yeah.
Or like I always find that on like Saturday and Sunday, I burn way more and I get way more steps than like a work day just by nature of doing stuff around the house.
Yeah.
You know?
You're not
and it's a good awareness.
Yeah. So I would say, if I had to say big benefit for me in terms of the awareness, going back to the sleep stuff I was talking about earlier, I didn't realize until later that the reason I was always tired was because I wasn't getting enough sleep.
Yeah.
And when I started to fix that, like do the amount of sleep that my Fitbit was telling me to get and whatever, and like when I started doing that on a more consistent basis, I realized that I don't need coffee. I don't need I could actually feel the change.
Yeah.
And then when you look at it in that way, you can actually save money. It sounds crazy.
Interesting.
Sounds crazy. Like if I'm getting, like it's convincing of me not to drink as much, right? So I'm saving money by not getting drinks at dinner.
Yeah.
And I'm saving because I'm not Well,
and I think kind of related, another big benefit of this whole marketing thing around 10,000 steps is reminding people that walking is exercise. Walking is amazing for you, and you don't necessarily have to join a gym or pay for some like trendy, expensive fitness class to get exercise.
Yeah.
You certainly don't need the fitness tracker either, but to be more mindful and feel like you accomplished something and feel like you're doing good things for your health without having to spend even more money, it's a positive, I think.
Yeah.
Kind of.
All right, I have this side story dilemma.
Okay.
I have these tan lines where my Oura Ring and my Fitbit are.
Yeah.
And so my wedding is in like 6 months. And so sometimes what I'll do is if I'm walking outside and the sun's out and I know I'm going to get a tan, I'll move those to my other hand and arm, which again, I think goes back to that obsessive nature of me of like, I want to track, I want to use these, but it's also annoying because it's...
So you're not going to not track, you're just going to do it offhand.
Yeah. So anyway... Very, very, minor problem. Like, do things like that bother you? Like,
I'm like, so for me, it's a prioritization. Wedding is a different story. I would, if in your situation, I would fake tan the tan line.
Oh, I guess, yeah.
To just resolve that or put makeup on it because in your wedding photos, you want to look a certain way. But what comes up for me is I've had situations where I'm attending a wedding as a guest, and I'm like, I'm gonna dance tonight. I know I'm gonna dance tonight. So it might be a black tie wedding where I am very dressed up, but I'm like, I don't want to not wear my watch and get all these steps.
So do you wear the watch?
Usually I wear the watch.
So you have an Apple Watch, right?
I have a Fitbit.
Oh, you have a Fitbit.
Yeah.
So what I've done in the past, so like this Fitbit, this is not the band that it comes with. I have a leather band.
Yeah.
And so it looks a little cooler.
Yeah.
Looks like a watch. But in the past, I've bought other bands. We didn't even talk about accessories yet.
Oh, yeah.
So like I've bought other bands, like Fitbit bands, that are like metal looking.
Right. That look more dressy.
That look dressy.
Yeah.
And I've worn that when it's like a nicer occasion. It's still, people still know it's a watch, but it's...
For the most part, I'm like, I don't care. I want to get my steps.
Yeah.
But there was an occasion recently, I can't think what it was, where I was like, no, I want to look like...
Yeah. I'm holding mine right now because I feel weird not wearing it for so long. It's been like 30 minutes without wearing it. Okay, so how often do you buy... So this is your first Oura Ring.
My first Oura Ring.
How often do you buy a new Fitbit?
Okay. Buy is an important word here because this shit don't last at all. I've had 8 or 9 replacements. Like, I don't even know the number of times they've broken and like through the warranty, or now I pay for insurance on it because this is a higher end one. This was originally given to me as a gift. Maybe I want to say 2020 it was a gift.
Yeah.
And this is my 3rd or 4th one. but I pay for the insurance, which is like $40, and so then they replace it.
So if it breaks and you pay for this $40,
They just give you a free one.
They get a free one.
Yeah.
What's the price tag on?
I think
that?
it's like $350.
Okay, yeah. I usually get the cheaper ones.
We've talked about this before. I am so accident prone that I have cracked the screen, or one of them just stopped working and I don't really know why. But yeah, this is my third or fourth one of this one. In 10 years, I mean, I've probably had 12. Like they
Wow.
break, bro. Like
So then-
sometimes they stop working.
So this is a $40 a year cost then, ish?
Well, they didn't always have insurance.
Oh, okay.
But they used to have really, really good warranties. So I got most of those replaced. I think I've purchased, I've probably purchased 3. One was a gift, and then it purchased insurance twice. But if you think about that, it's something I wear every single day.
And use every day.
And use every day.
So do you open the apps every day?
Lately, not so much. It honestly depends. Here's another benefit or cost, depending on how you think about it. But like when I'm using it and I'm engaged, I'm more mindful of everything else. So like when I'm tracking my food on the app, it helps me and fuels me to make better decisions. Even if like this week I meal prepped.
Yeah.
Right? Positive, healthy decision.
Yeah.
But I didn't track my food today. If I were tracking it, I would have more willpower.
Yeah.
And like be more aligned. I've just noticed that pattern for me. So I've been really out of my routine the past month or so, five or 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I haven't been traveling. I've been traveling. I haven't been in the gym. So knowing that, I just look at it less because I'm not going to be hard on myself for, whatever. But I would say still most days, if not every day, I look at it.
Well, that's a very healthy approach. I'm trying to get to kind of where you're at, where, if I can't hit my goals, that's not I don't have to get mad at myself.
Yeah.
I could just use it as a means to track the goals when I am on, on a regular routine.
I definitely used to be more that way. And I think some of it was I didn't have one for a little while. I was given an Apple Watch. I wore that and then that broke or I lost it, you know me. And so I had like a gap, right? And maybe that is kind of when it started to shift or just my mindset. But I am in a healthier place with it. I had a period where I was obsessive pretty much about everything health and fitness related. My food, like borderline unhealthy degree.
Yeah.
And so I've definitely been there.
So do you know anyone that is kind of anti-fitness tracker or like doesn't agree with them?
Yeah.
You do?
Well, it just came up. I'm dating someone and they were like, this is the first thing we disagree on. You're wearing a computer to bed. What is this? And they're just like, I don't get it. I was like, it tracks my sleep. And he's like, what the fuck is that?
Like, why do you need that?
Yeah, why do you need it? And I think like just differing views on technology and stuff. So that was kind of like a first for me. I think there's people who don't see the value in it. I haven't met as many people who are like that, who are like, what is this? Why are you doing this? Yeah. But it's interesting to know. I think of like my dad and my brother, for example, who are very, very into fitness in different ways. Like, but my brother competed in bodybuilding and is super, super active, super fit. And I don't think he wears anything. He might have an Apple Watch, maybe, but I think it's more for the watch.
He's probably already beat the game. He's already fit. So,
right.
Like,
but it's interesting though, right? And then, and my dad, someone got him a Fitbit and he just doesn't ever wear it.
Okay. That's interesting because I couldn't think of one. I could think of people who probably don't care one way or another.
Yeah.
And then I have friends who do care and have trackers and they understand when I'm trying to get my 10,000 steps, they understand the goal.
Here's what I'll say. I can't think of anyone that I know personally who wears a tracker and who isn't like all about it. I don't want to say obsessive, but who's just very casual about it. And that could be a reflection of my friends or a reflection of the effect of tracking.
So like if you have one, you're probably you care. You care.
You care.
I wouldn't call you obsessive, but you care.
Yeah. And that could be self-selecting, right? Like the people who care are more inclined to buy one.
Yeah.
Chicken egg.
Right.
But like everyone I'm thinking of, which is all my closest friends,
Yeah.
are like, I need to know.
I guess it's a generational thing too,
Yeah.
then. I actually, for my fiance's mom, we had gotten her a fitness tracker because she wanted to track steps sometime last year. And
Yeah.
she loves it.
Yeah.
But I don't think, especially for generations older than us, that they'd even think about it
Yeah.
as a tool or like something that's beneficial to your life, because like you operate for so many years and decades not
Right.
needing something like this.
I think it depends, because I think it's also aligned with just like how technologically savvy and open to innovation you are. Because like, for example, my mom is all about it, and she's worn one almost as long as I have. And another friend's mom who got really into fitness, I know, was all about it. That just reminded me, though, on the note of sleep, this isn't exactly a sleep tracker, but now there's all of these mattresses that have apps and give you a sleep score. And in my household, this is like an ongoing competition between my mom and my dad of like who has a better sleep score. And it's really funny because my mom's like always in the 90s. But like a good night for my dad is like 72.
Are you
And
sorry? So they have the bed?
They
that
have a
does
sleep
this?
number.
Oh, a sleep number.
A sleep number, and
Okay.
it gives you a score, right? So that's like another whole different kind of tracker. But it's just so funny like how that competition is. And for them, it's he'll never beat her ever. But it's relative, right? So
Yeah.
it's like for him, his win is, you know.
Well, I guess that's
an
what I
80.
wonder. Obviously, I love my trackers. I have 2 of them. It's and I see the benefit of the gamification of it
Yeah.
and being competitive, because at the end of the day, you're fighting to be healthier. I want to get better sleep. I want to
Yeah.
be more active, heart health, all this stuff. But I do worry about the obsessive nature of it for me to like, can I ever just could I go a year without my trackers? Like, would I feel healthy?
You would adapt. I think you'd adapt quicker than you think. But it would be a mindset shift, and that's really interesting. You know, I have another very close friend who can get really obsessive about health and fitness stuff when she's tracking. I don't know if she's that way with her watch that she wears, but like if she's tracking food, it's very all or nothing, to the point where it's just not good for her to do.
Yeah.
And that's a reality, right? Like it can become a problem. But I'm always like reminding her, if in those situations, like it's about being active. Like at the end of the day, what's your objective here?
Yeah.
So I think that helps too, right? Is your objective to get 10,000 steps every day? Is your objective to live a healthy lifestyle? And you like kind of can bring it back to that.
Yeah. Last note, something I think is very interesting is like, you know how for the longest time when we were younger, if you wanted to take pictures, you would have a digital camera.
Mhm.
And so you would have a phone and a digital camera if you went out in a given night. Then like over the years, technology like kind of combined those together.
Yeah.
So interestingly, like the watch thing,
Yeah.
it's like, no, not only do you have a pedometer, you also get
A heart monitor.
a heart monitor, but a watch, a timer. I use my
Yeah.
timer on my watch probably every day for various
Really?
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really interesting, like where this direction is going. Do you think more things are going to get conflated?
Oh, totally. Now people pay with their watches,
Oh, right.
you know?
Yeah.
It's funny that you say that though, because thinking about it, the number one use that I use it as is just a watch.
Yeah.
When I'm not wearing it, I realize how much I check my watch, and I never wore a watch before, ever in my whole life. But I think you're right. I think more and more types of functionality are going to get integrated, which is just a wave of technology of like things becoming more and more and more convenient.
Yeah. So maybe a future episode, because we just talked about fitness trackers today, but like wearables in general.
Wearables in
Because
general.
it's not just fitness and health
Yeah.
tracking. There's so many technological wearables now.
Yeah. You know, something when you were saying that, side note,
Yeah.
but reminded me, there is something to being tracked, as in your location. So most of them have a GPS component, and that can be a positive, I think, in terms of if something happens to you or you're in danger. But one thing I've seen is people will track a run and it'll track their route and they'll like post it on social media, or it's public on their profile of their Fitbit. That tells people where they live.
That tells you where you live because you're starting and
it tells you
there.
Your route. Like that is a real dangerous thing to do.
Yeah, they'll just know your route next Tuesday because they know you do that route. I don't, because I've had a stalker before. Told you this in previous episodes. But yeah, just a reminder for you guys out there, be careful with sharing
your GPS information. Data. Even in photos, it has your GPS. Man. There's all kinds of stuff. But that's another cost and a risk that I think people overlook, and you'll see like runners post their stuff and it's like.
Yeah, I just realized that in the Fitbit community, people post a lot. Like, I think it's mostly stuff where you can't locate them, but it's very individualized personal information. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know.
That's the type of information that is sketchy when it comes to data. Yeah. For sure.
Oh, good. I was worried that this episode was not going to have any.
That we were going to be an ad?
Yeah, we're just going to be an ad for fitness trackers.
Yeah.
But there are some negatives.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. 20 cents?
20 cents.
20 cents is the segment of the show where both Lizzy and myself, Lissa, each get 60 seconds to give our 2 cents on today's topic, whether it is a net positive or a net negative to have a fitness tracker. Where does 20 cents come from?
Because you get the opinion of 2 dimes, y'all.
2 dimes.
2 dimes. All right.
Are fitness trackers worth it?
Big surprise. I think fitness trackers are very worth it. They have been really instrumental for me in transforming my health. The awareness and knowledge and using that data to be more consistent, but also like to literally just like lose weight because I had numbers and inputs and knew how many calories I could eat, or gain weight when I was trying to gain and like really change my body in a positive way. And the benefit of like just having that mindset where I'm thinking about my health proactively and consciously throughout the day, I think has been a positive, or is in a very positive place now, even though there have been times when it, skewed a little negative.
Yeah.
But overall net positive.
Net positive. Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, big shocker.
Yeah.
All right. What about you? 20 cents.
No surprise either. I'm net positive. The one thing I will say, though, is I am actively trying not to use my fitness trackers as a crutch because I want to be in tune with my body. I want to know when I've gotten good sleep because I can feel it. I want to know that I've burned enough calories today because I feel it. I want to know that, today's going to be a rest day because my body is not feeling it. For now, these tools help me because I won't push it on a day that my Oura ring is like, take it easy. I'll take it easy. Mm-hmm. So I like that about it. But I do think that over time, if I could just use it as a tool, but not a crutch, then I'll be a lot happier about them. But in the meantime, I'm still going to use them. So for me, net positive.
Yo, that reminded me about my experience starting with the Oura ring, and it still gets it to this day, of like, there are times when I wake up and I feel exhausted. And it will say, I got great recovery and I'm ready to go. And I'm like, what is this? And that's really interesting, right? Yeah. Like, what is the disconnect between what is being measured and what I'm actually feeling? Mm-hmm. And trying to reconcile that. And so that is a really important point, is in spite of whatever your fitness tracker is telling you, at the end of the day, you got to listen to your body.
Got to listen to your body. All right. Well, this is what we think at this moment in time. Both Liz and I are net positive on fitness trackers, but no one can make that decision but you. What do you think?
Hit us up. Let us know what you think. DM us on Instagram at NetNetPodcast or email us at hi@netnetpodcast.com. And if you want to follow us individually, here's where you can find us.
I'm at Wealth for Women of Color on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram.
And you can follow me at live_well_Lizzy.
All references, statistics, and resources mentioned can be found in our show notes. This podcast is for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only and should not be constituted as financial advice or health advice. Remember to always do your own research, consult a professional as needed, and feel empowered to make your own damn decisions.